Welcome to another episode of Autogefühl with the all-new VW Golf 8. It started all with our first test drive in Portugal when we started with this new Golf. Then there was the new Audi A3, same platform. Then there was the new Skoda Octavia and the new Seat Leon, which are on the long wheelbase platform of this very one. So A3 and Golf, short wheelbase, Leon and Octavia, long wheelbase. But now as we've driven all of these four siblings, we'll take the Golf out for test ride once more. First of all today, high speed also, German motorway, and also comparing them with the other siblings. Which one is the most suitable for you, for example? Let's find out everything about exterior, interior, and the driving experience. As you know, it's Thomas in front of the camera, and also Thomas behind the camera now. Not me, but our Thomas B. And now in full HD, full screen, and full length. Let's go! Please subscribe to us if you haven't done so far. Then, here the front of the new VW Golf 8 is not too different from the outgoing model, just the headlamp style here is a little bit different, here with the design line right there. And you can see that the middle design element here, by the way the style trim level, it leads over to the new headlamps. They start LED as standard, optional then the matrix LED, which you also see right here, they call it IQ Light. The color for today is lime green. A very screaming out color, and indeed there will also still be this yellow kurkuma yellow color, but it's a really different one. In the lower part also a beautiful job here again with continuing of the paint and the horizontal lines here, so in the lower part it appears a little bit stronger than before. 4 meters 28, 14 foot 4 or 168 inches is the length of the new VW Golf and hasn't been changed that much. And again, Audi A3 and Golf 8 share the same wheelbase. Leon and Octavia share the little bit longer wheelbase. Then you can see here chrome accentuations in the lower part, but just dark in the upper part. I think they could have continued also chrome all the way around. Wheels start actually from 15-inch steel wheels still, and then optional 16-inch aluminum. These are then 17-inch aluminum. 18-inch would be standard for the R line. The 17, by the way, standard also for GTI, GTD and GTE. And then optional for the sportier models, you can also go up to 19-inch. You can see this style here has this aerodynamic style. And that's, by the way, in general, something about the new Golf generation. It is more aerodynamic than before. Might also play a role then for the consumption later on. We'll see about that. And of course, typical for the Golf, has been throughout the generations, is this very strong C pillar here, a signature design element of the Golf. In the rear, I think they've made a good job here, very elegant design, more modern tail lamps you can see here, and when you have the optional matrix LED light, you also have cascading turning indicators. Then you see you have an extended Golf lettering here now, which also stresses some kind of premium character, I think. Why not? By the way, suspension, you start with a fixed suspension. The sport models also get a lower fixed suspension. About the engines, well, there's one cold saving here, no gas strut to hold it up. You can argue about how often do you really need that, but then again, a Golf was famous for having that. Okay. There's a wide variety of engine choices, so the TSI turbo petrol engine, ETSI turbo petrol engine with mild hybrid, which you also see here, TDI the diesels, and then there will be a CNG engine as well, and plug-in hybrid petrol engines ranging from 90 to 320 horsepower. So, and the figures are as follows: the TSI 1 liter 3-cylinder, 90 or 110 horsepower. Then the 4-cylinder 1.5 liter, 130 or 150 horsepower. The latter one you can see here. When you combine it with the Dsg dual clutch transmission, then they automatically come as ETSI, the mild hybrid system, so with a little bit more recuperation. This is the car key, new slim one, but high gloss. I'm not sure how this will look like over time. Of course, keyless entry. When you put your hand on the outside, you close the vehicle, but also works, of course, inside. You open it, and there's also this new function that it just opens when you approach the vehicle or closes when you leave. Door closing sound. Oh, that's quite solid, as we know from the Golf. Then inside of the doors, the top part in the front is actually soft touch. Then you have a bright interior today, which is very beautiful with the bright fabric, bright leatherette, and also good quality from the door knobs here and so on. There you can see a sample of a bigger bottle inside. Again, a style trim here today. And this is the new interior with this one-panel design from Digital Instruments and the main infotainment screen. Soon more to that. On the left side you can already see, this panel right here to change the different lighting modes. I found it better with the knob before, but that's the scheme of this car. Hardly any real knobs anymore. There's a new steering wheel that was first introduced with the T-Cross. That looks more modern definitely, so that's quite fancy. It will be a lot of different Volkswagen to come. Then these new seats, you start with a normal fabric seat with a basic seat form. Then this is the optional Ergo Active seat, so it's a different seat form, more comfort, more things to control, electric support here also, and memory seating. And then you can see you have a nice Alcantara, let's say microfiber inside surface, and then some fabric on the outside. In general, the use of animal skin has massively been reduced for the new Golf. You can hardly get any animal skin option anymore, and that's of course good, more sustainable, more animal friendly, and of course climate wise for your seating comfort better. So these seats here will stay cool in winter, will stay cool in summer and warm in winter. That's the way. So actually looking quite fancy. Now let's get inside, and again, these new Ergo Active seats here, they really increase the comfort. You can also put this lower area a little bit longer, very soft materials and also high class. And of course, there's also this sports seat then available for the GTI and for the GTD as well. This also looks pretty fancy. We've shown it to you in our studio episode, and really looking forward for that. And will also be available with fabric surfaces with a special GTI. So I think way to go is either this comfort seat or the sports seat then. I mean, the base seat will also work fine. Really depends on, how tall you are and so on. And speaking about that, 1m86 or 6'1" without the panoramic roof, which is still available. Here, still a lot of headroom left, so no problem. As a tall adult, you can very well sit here. And again, you can adjust it. And there's also even a new massage function here. It's not the most sophisticated one, but again, we're in the compact segment and also interesting to have that here. Now the interior overview of this new Golf generation. Soft touch here at the top part. It's a very clean layout, definitely. Different decor elements here. This has an aluminum look, although it's not aluminum, but I think it's quite fine. And this climate, the vents there placed really low actually. And then you have the hazard indicators right there. You have hotkey also for accessing the climate menu, where you then reach it right there. Zoom more details to that. This is the optional 10-inch screen. There is also a base 8.25-inch screen like this, which still features a manual volume knob and also the manual zoom knob here for the map, for example. If you ask me, I would go for the base one. This is a little bit more complicated without the knobs. Left side always 10.25-inch digital instruments. Soon also more details to that. On the steering wheel, heated steering wheel function, optional. And then here you can also control the inside gauges then. Also change the view and so on. We have a close-up for that very soon. And then on the left side you have the ACC, adaptive cruise control, if you have that. Also now featuring the travel assist. This is very interesting because you also see some visualizations then in the digital menu here while driving for displaying the assistance systems. Then there's also the optional head-up display, which shows the current speed, the allowed speed, and especially while driving, that's very helpful, and also either assistance systems or GPS information and so on. And the digital instruments, you can see them right here, and you have different views you can pick. For example, here also with the full map view. That's of course one of the biggest advantages of digital instruments. More subtle, or then this classic view which simulates analog gauges which would be a nice setup here as well, or assistant systems view and so on. Then you can also change what you want to see on the right or on the left side each. So a lot of flexibility, definitely. And by the way, this steering wheel has a heated function and also in 3 different levels. That's quite fancy. Apple CarPlay or Android Auto support, CarPlay also wireless, but I rather trust on the cable connection, it's more stable to me. Then the lower console, this is really new, starts from engine button, and then there's this new Dsg shifting lever if you have the optional dual clutch transmission. Shift by wire, that means you can just put a very small knob right there. Shift by wire means there's no mechanical link, and therefore also the switch between reverse, front and so on is quicker than before and more safe, so to say. And then in the lower area, what else we have here? We have some cup holders, either with a bigger area to put things, or you can then induce this cup holder, so to say. And when you put up the armrest, you have a little bit more space underneath. And last but not least, there's the glove box, which is actually quite spacious and also dampened here, of course, when it goes down. And now close up to the infotainment system. First of all, I think the visualization, you can change the color here, however, that's possible. But I think the visualization looks old school, and I think it's also not, the speed of the system is not up to date. So I think they really have to rework that software. You have this home button, so to say, to get back here. Then the GPS actually also looks quite nice. It always also depends on the web connection, how fast something is, but I think the CPU unit for this software or for this whole system is, it's not powerful enough. As for the temperature, you have these sliders here now, which is more complicated than having a real climate knob. I do criticize that. It's not too hard to use, yes, but I think using it while driving, and also with the volume here, at least for the volume, you can also change it at the steering wheel. Still, when you go for the smaller screen, you have a real volume knob, which is a little bit more practical. So other than that, there's a 10-speaker Harman Kardon sound system. This is the integration here also for the Apple CarPlay. Like this, goes all the way over the screen. And the sound system here is actually quite nice. For a compact vehicle, nice, clear and rich sound. And yeah, if you want it bass heavy, you can also have that. This again, the CarPlay integration. You can go back to the Volkswagen menu like this. And then you can also play a little bit with the settings. Here are the mobile devices. There's my iPhone and covered. Oh, the second one also by Thomas B. Seat heating, by the way, is activated right here. This is a separate climate menu, and they rather want to set schemes, so to say. Let's say here, wow my feet, warm hands, and so on. But again, also using that while driving, I think this whole system is too complicated. And then put in the reverse gear. Then you have a rear view camera. Resolution is fine, and you also have this PDC view as well. As for the rear seating, this hasn't changed much because the wheelbase has also remained the same, so I can't exactly fit in here, so 4 toy adults do work. Yeah, maybe I could move the seat a little bit more to the front, but I mean, it directly works, but it doesn't offer plenty legroom or something. That would be a main difference then to the Seat Leon and the Skoda Octavia, which feature the longer wheelbase and then offer more space at the rear. However, they're also a little bit longer so then it depends on if you rather seek a good parking spot or you rather seek some more space in the rear. Other than that, the bench is also quite comfortable. Features also the same very nice and cozy materials. Headroom is also no problem here. And on the outside parts, you have the ISOFIX each. Then you can flip down this armrest right here. Cup holders inside, non-adaptive. You have a ski hatch already right here. And you can also flip the seats from here in 1/3, 2/3 split. And then in the middle part you also have a climate unit and rear seat heating and 2 more USB-C devices. Of course, not everything included in the lowest trim. And now, by the way, here also the new retro style VW logo for all cars, all new cars. Then you flip it and open the trunk. Hasn't been changed much indeed. Also here sample luggage in for you today. Other than that, let's take some measurements. First of all, here in the lower part, some sound equipment, but you can also fit a replacement tire in there. So the length here is about 76 centimeters. There will, of course, also be a Golf variant later on, as stated. 1 meter in width. Then the height below the cover is just over 40 centimeters. And the overall height, about 70 centimeters approximately. To flip the seats, as the trunk is short, you can also reach over right here. There you have the mentioned 1/3, 2/3 split. And if we then check the length to the front seats as we would be driving, this is then about 145 centimeters. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the new VW Golf 8, and as I told you earlier, we will compare Audi A3 with the Golf 8 here, and also the Seat Leon and the Skoda Octavia. And of course, what's new here with this generation if you compare it to the old one. So let's start with that. First of all, it doesn't feel like a completely different car when you just, let's say, close your eyes, which you shouldn't do when you're driving on the road, but you know what I mean. So of course, when you look at these new instruments, you know, all the digital stuff, then of course you think, oh, it's a completely different car. But when you leave that aside, it doesn't feel too different from the hardware, you know, and also the hardware is not too different. And that also accounts for all of the siblings, and especially due to the shorter wheelbase here in the Golf and the A3, Golf and A3 feel a little bit more agile, feel a little bit more closer to each other than Seat Leon and the Skoda Octavia in comparison to this one. Leon and Octavia then again feel a little bit closer towards each other because of the longer wheelbase. It's not that they are so much less agile, you feel a little bit. What the Golf does best is offer this very balanced handling, so already here in the normal style version, 17-inch wheels, but then equipped with the option DCC, dynamic chassis control, this car feels very balanced, is extremely good in the handling, and is already sporty. The DCC, dynamic chassis control, makes the ride also very comfortable, so it's definitely worthwhile this upgrade. And also here in the Golf and in the A3, at the rear axle we have the independent suspension, whereas in the Leon and in Octavia at 150 horsepower there's still just a torsion beam. So a less sophisticated rear axle than for the Leon and the Octavia, unless you go for a higher horsepower figure. But again, the A3 and the Golf include 150 horsepower engine in the sophisticated rear axle setup already, whereas Leon and Octavia need more powerful engines for that. So that's definitely, I mean, if you go for a 150 horsepower engine, then that would be a reason to go for the Golf and the A3, because definitely we feel more rear suspension comfort here with the Golf and the A3 than with the Leon and the Octavia. That's definitely a thing to note. Steering is also very well done, so there's no dead zone area. Good commands here from the steering wheel to the road. Feels very likable. The overview is actually also good to the rear sides. Classic building form of this vehicle. No problem as for that. The engine is very silent indeed, very well insulated from the cabin. Also the automatic gearbox here, the dual clutch transmission does a good job in, you know, smoothly and calmly shifting through the gears. Hardly noticed that. That's really nice. Oh, look at that. Vintage XK 120. Beautiful. Wow, nice Jaguar. Yeah, what else we can always see when we're driving in our reviews. Very interesting. Starting here with some countryside driving or rural city driving, and then we'll head on out to the motorway, where we also give you a high-speed test, because we could not do this in Portugal at the very first drive. So again, the A3 and the Golf drive pretty similar, but the driving indeed not too different, and both really, you know, from the driving hardware, a flawless ride, no doubt about that. Leon and Octavia also drive very well. And again, we tested both of these with the less sophisticated rear axle, and therefore the drive was a little bit less comfortable. This will be more equal than when we drive them, for example, all as plug-in hybrid, because the plug-in hybrids always get the best rear axle they have to offer then. And then in the sports mode, for example, you feel the suspension gets stiffer. Then you also, when you have some road damages here, you feel it a little bit more. But then again, you also have a bit more feedback. Steering wheel also is a little bit more in resistance then, but not too much of a difference. And here, just in the pure slalom or so, this car feels so great. So one of the good things, once again, even though you do not have a GTI or something, this car already feels so great to handle. Short wheelbase, it has gone so well from the whole evolution of the process of the Golf that all the hardware effects are so well done. Also, the 17-inch wheels are a good choice between, already quite interesting looks, and still you have a very decent comfort in the driving. So the bigger you go, of course, the more comfort you will basically lose. Such a relaxed ride here again in the Golf, and also quite happy with these new seats. And the silence in the ride, one of the best noise installations in this segment. Of course, we'll find out more about that when we drive on the motorway at a real higher speed. So, I would say now let's get to the motorway and see more about the higher speed driving. And now let's put that thing into sports mode. And this also automatically changes to the S shifting mode. You can also just induce that here by the Dsg Shifting Lever, going from normal D driving mode to the S mode, and gears are turned up higher, car shifts down earlier and up later. And here we start at about 40 kilometers an hour and accelerate this 1.5 TSI 150 horsepower out. Let's go! So that's at 175 kilometers an hour, that's enough for here, and also noise insulation is still quite good. This wouldn't be a typical motorway speed, of course, and the car is really stable here. So a good feeling also at higher speeds. Lane change here really keeps the car upright also. DCC in a sports mode, but it's not a GTI, but really feels very sporty, quite cool. Now a typical motorway speed, 130 kilometers an hour or 80 miles an hour. Let's go to that. Here we are. It's very good from the noise installation. See, I don't have to raise my voice that much. So in that compact segment, that's together, with one of the best, definitely. The brakes being applied quite well. From about that. Now about 80 kilometers an hour. And let's also see, because we're going into a tunnel now, how that interior looks like when it's a little bit darker. You can switch back in DCC mode to the comfort mode, that we have a little more comfort when we have a long-term ride. Setting the cruise control once again. The distance to the car in front of me is being kept. And let's see, if someone wants to drive faster than allowed, then we can also check out the blind spot monitor once more. They're obeying the speed limit, I think. So now getting into the tunnel, you can also see how the digital instruments look like at night right there. Interior lighting, you can also see here at the moment set to this green mode here as well. Maxed out, but you can of course also change this design. But this is the design of the screen. Whoa. Better dark right here, right? But you can also switch the colors here, so that's possible. Still, I think they could have done a little bit more with ambient lighting, I think. And now to the conclusion for today with the all-new Volkswagen Golf 8. First of all, the exterior is rather an evolution, not too much different from the outgoing version. There has been a lot of discussion about the headlamp form, which is like flipped upside down compared to the Golf 7. And of course, going for a Golf 7.5, so the recent facelift, is still a good choice when you have some of the outgoing models. There might be some good offers for that. Other than that, the new one, what is the main difference? Well, size-wise hasn't changed that much. On the interior, this is actually the biggest change, especially about the infotainment system. And to me, also a criticism point, the virtual cockpit, that's actually quite nice. You can very well use it, but you could also use the one before. Other than that, the interior build quality is still quite high. Yes, some cost savings here with no gas strut and also the rear inside door, but yeah, I think that's not the biggest issue. Good is that we especially have nice new seats, so the seating comfort has been enhanced, especially with these ergo active seats, and even less animal skin use here, so a more sustainable approach by Volkswagen. And that's also a thing with these new engines, especially if you go mild hybrid. This new ETSI with the mild hybrid system, really good in the fuel economy, so we can score some 5 or 6 liters on 100 kilometers if we don't exceed the driving, let's say, that way. So 40 mpg plus even higher 40 mpg figures, and that's, I think, one of the good things. So yes, exterior-wise, you can argue about that. Interior-wise, better as for the comfort. Infotainment system control, we can argue about that, but more sustainable in the seating choices and also in the fuel economy. Got some motorcyclists as guests here today. Well, overall, still a great vehicle, no doubt about that. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and also tune into the reviews of the competitors. See you there.
Volkswagen.